Looking for that great next read or your new favorite author? Check out Amy's Bookshelf Reviews recommendations. You won't be disappointed. Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. It is a spin-off of the website and book review site of Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast is about book reviews, a writer's muse, a book's peruse, author interviews, and literary news. Welcome to the new year, where new things may happen with this. I hope you all enjoy, and thank you for listening. Good evening, listeners. I'm Amy, and welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. Today I'm doing a little something separate. Different, from what I normally do. Mainly this podcast has basically changed this year, and most 90% of the episodes are from author interviews, or part of it that could also be me talking about an author's book. And there are plenty more author interviews to come. I do pre-recordings, and also, if you are a podcast guest or you were one, you also have the opportunity to be interviewed for my other, entity, the, Literally magazine. It's a free literary magazine that actually, it's bi-monthly, and you can download it on my website, at essenceenterprisesus.com. The link will be also in the description of this episode. So I was trying to figure out, I've been doing a lot of promoting the last few years, especially for authors. When it comes time to promote my own stuff, it's kind of like slid in the background. So I'm not trying to be selfish. I'm just trying to also help authors, but also help myself in some ways. I've learned a lot about promotions from what I do for other authors, and I'm always trying to learn about new ways to do things. And I think that's great. And sometimes I take notes. Oh yes, I have to do this for myself. And then I end up not doing that. I've, an episode that is coming up with my new series. I am promoting not just children's books, but my first published children's book, called What Am I? All my children's books, when they get published, will be listed under Amy C. Shannon and not just Amy Shannon, as my other books are. And it's just something I decided to do. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Just thought about doing that. I have a lot of books that I have written and published. My first book was called Unwritten Life. I wrote it, actually December of 2004. Yeah, 2004. I wrote it. Then I ended up sending it to several publishers, and this is back then. There was no Google. You could find a list of publishers in the Writer's Digest book of resources that they have. They publish every year. Publishers, publicists, agents. They have a physical directory for that. I sent out to 3 publishers. I got one back, 2 nice ones, but I sent it out to, they didn't represent that kind of work. One, at the time, I didn't understand what print on demand was, but they said they were like a traditional book, and I had a contract for 7 years with them. Promoting was terrible. I literally print out flyers about my book. I gave some away as gifts. I didn't know much about publishing. I did a book signing that I sat in the back of Barnes& and Noble, along with these other people who self-published their book, and they just looked at us and then just kept walking. So that was well, it wasn't my last book signing, but, was something that, well, it just kind of, back then there was a stigma and they thought, print on demand or, self-published. Indie publishing wasn't a term back then. But, you self-publish your book. Anybody can self-publish your book. It doesn't have to be good. You just have to be able to publish it. To me, I thought it was good. I gave it to, friends and family, and they liked it. And I even gave it to some people who say, oh, I'm not really a reader, but then they read it and they liked it and they asked when more were coming out. So I wrote a couple, I think I wrote 2 standalone books that weren't associated with it. Contrary Measures, which has been republished a couple of years ago, and Passionate Retribution, which has 4 volumes now. And then I went back to the characters in Unwritten Life. And I think, like, when they say your first book is the one you love the most, I don't know if it's the book that I love the most, but it's the characters that I love the most. I had set it up as I wrote more, and also, of course, in the end of 2005, I was under a traumatic event in my life, in my marriage, but it didn't stop me from continuing to write. A few months before everything happened in 2005, I was interviewed by the local news about Unwritten Life. And at the time, I was thinking of writing a trilogy. And over the years, as I wrote other things, I kept going back to this story. And there was several times when I was writing the book and I'm like, yep, last one. And then I thought of something else. And in 2018, I rebranded them. I had like every 9 books, 9 to 13 had its own kind of like, series, the volume series. And they were part of a whole. But in 2018, I decided to rebrand all of the books that I had written. Some I had published, some weren't published yet, and put them all under one saga, one series. And I find that worked better. I redid the covers. If you see the covers on the MOD Life Epic Saga, which is what I call it, then you'll see that some are different colors, and that is just my own personal homage to how they used to be broken down into series within the saga. And as of 2 years ago, I wrote the final book in the series. There are also 9 bonus books, and I do have a list of all of the books in the saga, and it also tells you what what book you should read before reading that one. Because, I have a prequel, but you really need to read the first two books if you want to read the prequel, because otherwise it would give away some stuff that were suspenseful in books 1 and 2. All of the books have the word life or lives in it, in the title. It's just kind of a theme I was going for. So basically, let's see here. Let me talk a little bit more about the saga itself. So, the MOD Life Epic Saga, it has 67 volumes and it has 9 bonus books. M is for Markham, O is for O'Rourke, and D is for Dix. The first volume is Unwritten Life, which was born in 2004 and has had several editions over the years. So it was published in 2005. So this year was its 20th year. The saga started with the very first book I wrote, Unwritten Life. It grew over 16 years until its finale. Over the next few months, the titles will be published on Lulu in digital format only. And they are on Lulu in digital format, every single book. Some are, the bonus books are actually free. So you can get them there, or you can get them on my, website, essenceEnterprisesUS.com. And you can go to my store and you can get digital versions there. There's also a free informational book and a checklist, which tells you what each book is about. You can download that PDF, also on my website, essenceEnterprises.com/MOD-life-epic-saga. So as I said, there are 67 volumes, and 9 bonus books. And I must say I reread them a lot. And it's like watching, and it probably may be silly to some people, but, I love those characters. And I always thought there was a time when I needed to say goodbye, but the final one is really the goodbye. It's like, what else do I have, left to write? And of course, I'm not writing full-length novels anymore. So, I think this saga is complete. It surrounds the life of the residents of a town called Sar Springs. It's a fictional town in Arizona, and it's about 2 hours south of Florence in Arizona, and that is actually a real town. When I wrote about this, I did a lot of research about Arizona because I had never been there before. And if Sar Springs was actually on a map, it would be in the middle of a desert. I also made up some towns surrounding it, but I also use landmarks and historical things, that can relate to it. Because it's around a town, I actually had created a map that I put on my wall of the town so I could keep track of people's addresses, where businesses were, things change. The series, it kind of just, follows the life of the residents and their growing families and businesses. Evil also seems to flock there, either in a stalker form, corruption in law enforcement, murder, kidnapping, torture, human expectations, just to start a few. There's even doctors that, good doctors and evil, corrupt doctors, corrupt FBI agents, corrupt police officers, that are involved in
what I call awakenings, which are bringing the dead back to life. And it's not like a zombie thing. It's like a medical thing. There's these medicines that are made up, I think, and they are able to revive, certain people who have been dead or are presumed dead. I like kind of bringing people back to the story when I need something different. So the Alex Garrison, she is the primary character in the beginning, and then she shares the spotlight more with her daughter, Raina, and then it kind of continues on Raina's life, but Alex and her husband are still there. Raina grows up and then becomes a doctor. And she is one of those people that is very smart. Plus she has what she calls her depths of souls, which are powers. Basically, she can feel other people's emotions and things like that. And she knows things that are true. She just, even if she can't understand why she knows it. So, just kind of like, I wanted to bring back the stories and hope that people will read these, start from the beginning. The first version of Unwritten Life was written in 2004, published in 2005. It was published under my married name at the time, Amy Witkowski. There have been 6 printings of the book, actually 7, and they were rebranded in 2018. The final story was written and ended in volume 67. So, I'm just going to read start of Unwritten Life. I'm just going to read the first chapter. And I hope that as you're listening, that, I know that people know me because of Amy's Bookshelf Reviews, and that is what makes my name pop out there. But I'm also an author, and I hope that sometimes maybe somebody will decide to pick up the book and read it. And if you like it, write a review. If you don't like it, write a review. So, I'm going to start with Unwritten Life. Originally, it was a thought in my head in 2004. It's revived since then, but you must also realize that when I updated it, I didn't change the technology at the time of these writings, because the technology of of how I wrote it, was a technology at the time that I wrote it. So, you'll get, that kind of understanding, you'll be like, now you could do this and that, but this is, from the early 2000s when I wrote most of my books. I just didn't go in and update the tech because it made sense not to. So chapter 1, Alex Garrison, introducing Alex Garrison. Alex Garrison was looking for something new in her life. She was trying to put the past behind her and start over. She even started a new career as a technical customer support supervisor at a two-year-old company, Solutions Computer Systems, in her neighborhood. It was definitely time for a change. The past needed to be put to rest. She needed a fresh, new life on her own. She worked for Solutions for about 6 months. Recently, she applied for the technical job opening in another department and was hired. She finally finished her probationary period on the job, which required a lot of traveling. She was excited that she would now have her own office, and the best part of it was she was a supervisor. When she applied for the job, there were a few positions open, and since she excelled during the test period, she received the supervisory role. Alex didn't let the company know about her previous business background. That was only a small part of her past, and it didn't need to come forward. This was her new life as a new person. She arrived in her new office, and of course it was a little smaller than she imagined, but it didn't matter. It had a door that could be closed. She unpacked the box that she had brought from home, just a few plants that would make the office look less sterile. On her desk was a pile of office supplies. She sat down at her desk and booted up her computer. She picked up the phone and accessed her voicemail to personalize it. Finally, privacy, she sighed as she put her feet up on the desk and leaned back in the chair. A few minutes later, there was a knock on her door, and she quickly put her feet back on the floor. "Come in," she said. "Hey, I just wanted to see how you're doing in your new gigs," Carrie Olson, Alex's manager, said. "Just getting used to the quiet. Feels good not to have to run around anymore," Alex replied. "I know what you mean." Carrie paused for a moment. "In a few weeks, our district manager will be here, so there'll be a lot of prep for his arrival." "Oh, I didn't realize we had a district manager." "It's a new position. Stephen Welch found him and liked his style, so we just need to live with it. I guess that's just part of being a new company. They start with adding more managers." "Well, I guess we'll just need to deal." "How will this affect us?" Alex asked. "I'm not sure. The department is very old. It's been here for about a year. We've had people come and go. 7 months they split the department. We're the customer support end, and then there's the hardware end. He'll be setting up in an empty office upstairs. The building may be large, but there isn't enough office space. The empty office that has the hatch to the roof, that's the one he's going to have. Well, you should get back to work, and I have another interview in a few minutes." "How many interviews do you have?" "We have what, 3 positions to fill?" "It's down to 2, but I think Joe might try to steal that one for the hardware department. He's always tries to get the best picks of our hires. We'll see how he does on the probation trip. See you later." Alex smiled. "Ah, yes, the probation trip. The company sends you to different customer businesses so you can upgrade their computer systems while establishing good customer relations. That way they will be more willing to renew their contracts and call customer support center, which generates revenue." As Alex started going through her email, her mind started to drift. "I hope this works out. I want it different this time." She took a deep breath and let out a sigh. Suddenly, Alex got a strong scent of cologne. She took in another deep breath. What a wonderful smell, she thought. "Excuse me," she heard a man's voice say. Alex looked up and smiled. To her, the most beautiful man stood in her doorway. Yes, what can I do for you?" "Hi, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Randy. I just got hired. I'm just about to leave for my trip, and I thought I'd stop by and say hello before I left." His eyes smiled as he spoke. He was an older man with salt and pepper hair. Alex composed herself as she felt automatically drawn to this man. She stood up and stretched out her hand, took a deep breath, breathing in his cologne and trying to hide her attraction to him. Randy Harrison shook it with a strong but gentle grip. His hands were so soft to the touch. He smiled back at her. "Well, off I go. I'll see you when I get back." Randy turned around and left. Alex stood in the doorway for a few moments, watching Randy walk down the hall. "Damn," she whispered. Certainly can't chase an employee around." She dropped down in her chair. "Too bad," she sighed, rubbing her forehead back and forth with her hand. She thought about what Carrie said. What if Joe hired Randy, she said. But no, this isn't the place to go looking for that. I'm here to work, and that's all. She sorted through the pile of papers on her desk and reviewed the new specification documents for the upgraded computers. So, it's not the complete chapter. The chapters are quite long, but I think that you kind of get the idea. It starts out, one of the main focuses, obviously, is Alex Garrison, but the company she works for and the employees that work there and then there's some law enforcement that gets brought in. So you get an introduction to several characters, and some of those characters last throughout the entire series. And of course they have that, what they call it soap opera aging. Yeah, that sometimes happens. Characters grow up a little bit faster, and some characters would end up being 500 years old, but, age is not always a factor. And when you die, at least in the story, and come back, you don't really have an age anymore. You stopped aging. But anyways, so that is just the start of my story. I find they're fascinating characters. When I wrote it in a way that reminded me of a company I used to work for. And even though it's a different setting, the characters, may resemble certain people or not certain people. But I kind of was, also implementing that cubicle world in corporations and how things work, but also there's a suspenseful side and make people curious about Alex's past, which comes, it turns out you can't run from your past because it shows up on your doorstep. But anyway, I want to thank you all for listening to me rant about my story and stories. And if you're interested in reading them, like I said, they're on Lulu, or you can get the digital copies on my website. So if you wish for you or your book to be on the show, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast. Thank you for listening. Be safe, be well, and always be kind.
Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. If you are looking to be on the podcast or looking for a book review, you can go to amysbookshelfreviews.com and look for the appropriate navigational menu. Again, thank you all for listening and being a supporter of this podcast and of the Amy's Bookshelf Reviews, professional reviewers of books and audiobooks. Thank you all. Be safe and be well.